traversed the tombs of Naxxramas. We've climbed every cliff on Black Rock. Now the world cries out for heroes. As a new evil rises, there will be danger. There will be doom. There will be ancient temples filled with relics, treasures, and traps. Who will answer the call?
Explorers lead, and we are in need of explorers. Adventure we seek, cross land and sea. Won't you come and join us?
Yes!
Hey guys, and welcome back. We're in day 3 of the StarLadder and I-League combined series here, and we're about to go into our third match. During the commercial, you guys missed a good rendition from Lothar from Lothar here. I'm just laughing thinking about it. He was singing the Hearthstone Adventure commercial. I really wish that would have been on camera so these guys could have seen it. But so we're going to be setting up our third match here. Neirea is coming off of a sweep in his first match. He swept 6-0, 3-0, but he's playing against Trump this round, who you feel has a little bit of an advantage coming into this match.
Yes, he has a small advantage because he knows what Neirea is sporting, so he knows that his Warlock deck is most likely running a Reno Jackson and is playing with Demon Rav and that stuff. He knows that he is running a Control Warrior instead of a Patron Warrior, and the third deck was what?
It was Druid.
A Druid. Well, at least he knows it's not an aggro Druid, right?
Right.
But at least he knows that. But that makes quite a difference for his mulligans options. But at the same time, it's not as big of a difference as it would be in a last Euro standing when you can see an example who is a certain person banning, what is he choosing as the first option because it's the best strategy for his lineup, and that type of stuff. The Conquest is not depending on those factors as much. But we have to give Neirea some credit, like he is handicapped here.
Yeah, for sure. And let's talk a little bit about what Trump's going to be bringing to this match. You know, he's got 3 decks as well. Now, he's also playing Druid and Warlock. That seems like the decks to play today. Everyone's playing Warlock. Most people are playing Druid. But Trump's also playing Paladin, which is, you know, what a lot of people consider the most powerful class right now. It has just the most powerful cards, the best curve, some of the best minions. We don't know what flavor of Paladin it is from Trump yet, and we've seen, you know, the full range of spectrum from him today. We've seen super aggressive ones, we've seen secret Paladin, and we even saw control Paladin out of Firebat. Firebat's lineup is all control, by the way. He's got 3 control decks in it, so he was expecting to see some of these aggressive decks that he's seeing here in this. You know, there is a hunter in this group. There's some aggressive Paladin decks, and, you know, Trump he's been known to be aggressive in his career before as well, so he could have some aggressive decks as well. And I like that you mentioned with Druid, we haven't seen the aggro Druid deck yet. Why do you think that's kind of like falling a little out of favor lately? It was so popular there for a month or two.
I mean, is it falling out? I'm not sure, because I still think it's one of the best decks in the meta game currently in the tournament setting too, because it can punish people so bad for not having an answer to a single creature, because the damage passes so fast. Is incredible, and if I'm not mistaken, Ty's got to legend in 14 hours of gameplay with the aggro Druid, and not just like, you know, wrecking people with 70% win ratios. So it's fast games, it's fast paced, it's punishing people for having bad draws. So everything you want to have in an aggro deck. So it has to be quite good.
Yeah, speaking of everything you want to have, both of our players playing Druid have turn 2 ramp. They both have a Darnassus on turn 2. Neirea's going to like kind of take his curve a little slow here. He had the option to coin out a Darnassus into a Shade here on the next turn, but this is actually going to let his Darnassus be taken out by Trump if he wants to do it here with this hero power, or he could even develop another minion here.
Exactly, I was wondering why Neirea didn't coin out the Darnassus Aspirants. Having the Shade already on board seems like to be a huge advantage over the other Druid player, because it allows you to have a favorable trade on turn 5, an example, and or 6. When you're going first, then this turn 6 is more important, because that's the turn when your opponent plays the Druid of the Claw and you can just clear it out with the attack. And now Trump is allowed to clear out the Darnassus and still have the mana advantage himself. So Neirea has to use the coin to make a comeback, and otherwise, if you wouldn't have that Keeper, he would have to use the hero power or just play naked make Shade of Nexramas and not do nothing.
Yeah, thankfully for him, he did have that. Otherwise, he'd be falling pretty far behind here. And that's a Savage Combatant. This is a card that we don't always see in Druid. It makes its way in and out. Sometimes you see some flexibility with their 4-drops and stuff. And so this is an interesting choice in cards from Trump here. And speaking of Trump, he's a very popular guy, great streamer, a lot of loyal fans. If you like Trump, you're getting double your money's worth here. There's 2 Trumps in his picture there. He's got a self-portrait in the background going on here.
That's a portrait from the NA stage of BlizzCon, right? Qualifiers.
Right.
Yeah. Well, some self-promotion, why not? But you're right, definitely right about the Savage Combatant. It's not something you're always seeing in the mid-range druids, but you often see that in the aggressive one because it allows to dish out more damage. Just from when you rip it from. Oh, sorry. Ha! That's the Polish version of Hearthstone.
Speaking of liking the songs, man, you got to play them even during your matches. I see.
Yeah, I just unlocked my iPad.
Yeah.
To have like some information about the players, not on the screens. But yeah, it turns out the last thing I had on my iPad was Hearthstone. So,
go figure.
So, I was talking about the Savage Combatant because it allows you to dish out more damage just being a top deck, You usually with turn 6, you top deck a Savage Combatant, you actually deal 3 damage from the top of the deck and still develop a creature, so it's a great deal.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see that card in his deck because if he has Savage Combatant in his deck, you got to believe he's probably a little less on the tech cards because you see Neirea has Big Game Hunter and he has Harrison Jones in his hand. And if Trump has something like Savage Combatant, you got to believe that might be one of the cuts that he made. He might not have a Big Game Hunter. He might not have a Harrison Jones in his deck. He might not have deemed those cards necessary. And speaking of Trump, he's got a little bit of a decision to make this turn. This turn, there's a lot of different ways you can play this one, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of decisions here, and I think Emperor still might be the best.
Yeah, it's just, do you trade this turn? Do you push for damage? And I gotta believe you can't let this Azure Drake sit around. You can't let a swipe take care of your Emperor and your Keeper of the Grove here.
That's true. It was very important to make the decision, especially with the swipe as Z. And it's like the one fact I was thinking about is to use maybe the Savage Roar because it's so much damage. It's just 8 damage from the board when 10 damage. When you have 4 minions on the board, so it was a huge deal. But that's the usual move you make when you're playing the aggressive version. So I don't blame him for holding back on the Savage Roar.
Yeah, we've seen some people have hard decisions with Savage Roar. We saw a Jab with a couple situations where maybe he should have used a Savage Roar in a turn because it's not likely that he might get a better turn with it. But again, it's hard when you're sitting in the seat and you can't see the other player's hand. Now Neirea, he's behind here, and this is something we've seen a few times today. We've seen these Source of Dangers come out and use the flexible side of it. This card isn't just for killing people. You get to use it as a removal spell here sometimes as well.
Especially in the mirror matches when you rely so much on board presence. So it's very important to have that as soon as possible.
Yeah, that seems to be the most important thing in the mirror. Well, number one is probably just ramping on turn 2. If one person ramps on turn 2 and the other person doesn't, then the game just gets run away with. But whoever can get board control and keep it seems to have a huge advantage in every turn.
Yeah, and in this situation, like having so much board advantage, I wanted to say, but at the same time, Trump's hand looks very lackluster.
Well, here's the thing. This turn, do you get really aggressive with this Innervate and Savage Roar? I mean, it's a kind of, because you get to add Darnassus as well. You can use the Innervate into Savage Roar Darnassus, use your face to take care of the Shade, and if you want, you can even start to push damage here with your Shade, but I don't know if you want to unveil your Shade when it's still a 4/4, because of stuff like Swipe. But I think Trump is thinking about making a big move here. But he might just play the Darnassus, you never know.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame him to just go for the Savage Roar, but he doesn't go for that.
Yeah, he does actually just push a little bit of damage with the Shade here. He does have a Swipe and the Savage Roar still in his hand, so he's still got a ton of reach here. Probably just expecting Dr. Boom to come out of Neirea here after a trade. That's probably something that's on his mind, and he'd still have, he'd have 5, 6, 7, 11, 15. He'd have exactly 17. So if Neirea does trade here into either one of the either one of Trump's bigger minions, Trump still has lethal here with Swipe and Savage Roar.
Yeah, maybe he's it's even more.
Yeah, so I
because
like
he has
this play,
the
yeah.
hero power, right? So it's 8
Right.
mana, so he can dish out 5 damage from the Swipe and hero power, and then the Savage Roar what it delivers. So with 2 minions and a hero power, and a hero, that's 6 damage. So it's basically a fireball. So it's 11 damage from the hand, and he goes
Yeah.
for it. Well, no
Yeah,
wonder.
you know,
It's a powerful play.
Yeah, I don't really blame Neirea. You kind of just have to do this. You know, if Trump has these cards to kill you here, like if he has the Savage Roar and a Swipe, like you're probably not going to win anyway. You know, and Trump does sequence this correctly. You do need to do the attack first before you swipe here because the Boombots could possibly kill one of your minions here. So
Definitely.
you know, we talked about the possibility of Trump, you know, thinking about getting aggressive that turn, and I like that he took his time to think about doing it that turn, but he just found a better line. You know, one that's more consistent and just, you know, less risky from that spot.
Yeah, definitely less risky, and I give him the options of developing the board. Give him the burst potential that he needed without the force of nature, because his hand was getting clunky. Like the big game hunter didn't see a lot of targets at all. Like the druid doesn't have that much targets anyway, unless you're playing a abusive sergeant yourself and just add attack to an Ancient of Law and Ancient of War, an example. But in this situation, the Dr. Boom is the only target that can get Big Game hunted, and we saw it being played on Tin 7, but at the same time it was already over, so it didn't even matter that the Big Game hunter was sitting there in Trump's hand. But now, this is Conquest format, so he has this deck locked down, and he has to switch the class, while Neirea can stick to his Druid. But we'll see if he actually does that.
And I like that you brought that up because I feel that something you brought up before this happened. You talked about how Trump had a little bit of an advantage because Neirea had already played today. So Trump has seen all the decks that Neirea has. And if I was a betting man, I would have bet on Trump starting with Druid because it just seems, you know, pretty well positioned against Neirea's lineup. He's got Warrior and Warlock, which are traditionally pretty good, decent, you know, good to decent matchups for Druid. And then, you know, if you play the mirror match, it's just a coin flip anyway. So I really love Trump starting out with Druid here.
Yep, I like that too. And now he switches to Paladin, which I assume will be the secret version, because that's what I would like bet on Trump to play. We'll see in a second. Now he has the trademarks for Paladin class anyway. So cards like mini bots, knife jugglers, and pulse shooters can be found in any version of Paladin, basically. So it doesn't necessarily say to us what type of Paladin it is. But Neirea has the Demon Wrath again as opening hand, which is one of the MVP cards against minion-based decks like Paladin.
Yeah, it's so good against Paladin. You know, you always expect something like Muster or you know, and mini bots to come out. It's so good against them. But Trump has this resilient start with 2 shielded mini bots on turns 1 and 2. Neirea is going to have to start fighting this board at a different access than he really wanted to here. He's going to have to put this Dark Peddler into play, and picking up Argent Squire here is pretty big for him. This is a minion that's going to be able to burst some of these bubbles off of Trump's minions and get some value off this Demon Wrath.
Oh yeah, definitely. This will be helping a lot, especially if there will be no Masterful Battle from Trump, and there's none. So the single minion will be able to just decrease the amounts of divine shields on board. So it's a very, very important for Neirea to have it. And at the same time, we saw that Trump was hesitant to play his Knife Juggler because he was actually playing around Demon Wrath. That's my guess.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up. Here you go again. You talked about this coming into the match. This is the advantage at going last. He has seen all of Neirea's decks. He knows there's a Demon Wrath in this deck, and you saw him. You know, that was a decent turn to play a Knife Juggler and another minion. It would have been a very good board. But he's going to play around these AoEs that he's seen out of Neirea here. You saw him take his time and think about it. Trump using that to his advantage here, being able to go last and see all of the other players' decks.
Definitely, and I think that was a very wise move not to play the Knife Juggler that turn. So he has a bigger board right now, and still can develop cards like Paladin, an example, who is great at killing Void Callers. And he knows also that Neirea is playing the deck without a certain amount of demons in the deck, so there's a little chance of having a Doomguard because it's only on one off in the deck. There's a little chance of having a Imging boss because there's only one of the deck. One in the deck has, of course, one Mal'Ganis because it's a legendary. So hitting something really impactful from the Void Color is getting harder in this archetype of Warlock than, an example, in those standard Zulus.
That is a really good point, actually, because that is such a scary card when it's sitting on the other side of the board, and you're like, do I attack it now? Do I attack it later? Do I let him just have it? Because the longer the game goes, the more likely he is to draw a demon or to set up a turn where he gets the one he wants. And now that we're seeing more of Trump's deck, we see 2 Zombie Chows. I gotta believe that he's more of the mid-range to controlling version of Paladin than the Secret Paladin deck.
Yeah, that might be true. And look at that. Neirea was 1 turn late with the Mal'Ganis draw. That would actually
1 turn
make
late for a
huge
Mal'Ganis
difference. From
it would have been. Yeah, it would have been a gigantic play here. He still gets a ton of value off of this Demon Wrath here, but Trump, oh man, he picked up a Muster for Battle too, so he's going to be able to follow up a Knife Juggler with a Muster for Battle if he wants to here in any one of these turns. And Neirea yields initiative over to Trump, and Trump does what Paladin does, just spams the board of minions.
Yep. Just spams a board of minions, and now Neirea doesn't have to be intimidated by the board because he's at healthy 25 points. The damage that comes from board of Paladin is not that high. Basically, killing the Zombie Chow denies the one attack from the whole board of Trumps, and that's fine. He doesn't have to play around Quartermaster because there's only 1 minion already on board. Imagine if, an example, Trump would have used the Master of Battle last turn.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say that he would have drawn the perfect card in Quartermaster this turn. We could see that Neirea didn't have a good hand to deal with it, but maybe he was just playing around another AoE effect here. But he's going to go ahead and muster here this turn. He's got to take care of this Emperor Thaurissan. He cannot let it sit around. He's going to get some damage in as well. This is still going to be a very good Quartermaster next turn.
Yeah, and Neirea is not able to clear all those minions unless he will draw something like a Hellfire, which will help him immensely with this board.
And Trump's actually going to use his weapon here and one of his 1/1s here to clear, because maybe he's playing around a second Demon Wrath here. Maybe he's not sure exactly all of the removal spells that Neirea has in sweepers. Doesn't want to give 5 life to Neirea, most likely, as well. That could have something to do with it. And Neirea really utilizing this Emperor trigger here this turn. I mean, just getting to play so many spells in one turn, but this is going to be a big turn from Trump here. I got to believe we're going to see a Hero Power into a Quartermaster, and he's going to he's going to keep just control of this board over and over every turn.
By the way, bad Shredder placement.
Oh yeah, I was waiting for you to say something about it. Yeah.
I mean, chat is usually triggered by that. They're usually praising a player who places the Shredder in a correct position, and then they're tending to, just sit on a player who doesn't do that. So I'm sure that Neirea will get a bad feedback from the Twitch chat right now.
Yeah, and a 0 power minion comes out of the Shredder, not what Neirea wants. He doesn't even get to have it during his turn and heal here. Neirea is in a rough spot here. Trump has got a huge board on the other side here, and Neirea not left with a lot of great options.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, he doesn't have a sweeper. Sylvanas seems like a okay position, but your opponent has 9, 11, 14, 15. Oh my god, Hellfire from the top of the deck. And that's what he needed right now to take control. To have a way of making a comeback. I mean, he's still not in control of the game, but at the same time, Paladin lost a lot of his stuff. But doesn't need a way to replenish the board. Look at that, Murloc Knight to action.
Yeah, I know you like your Murlocs here, so we're going to get a few for you here. And Colette Oracle, not one of the better ones that you can get, but a little bit kind of on the average there. 2 power minion coming off of his guy there for Trump. Now, Neirea, that was a hell of a top deck last turn. I mean, that had to be the exact card he was looking for at that tap, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is the card that he needed. This is the only card that made him and made for a comeback for him possible, because otherwise he would just be dealing too much damage every single turn from the Paladin, so it was very important.
Oh, the double Murloc Knight. Murloc Knight off Murloc Knight, that has got to be the dream here. Now, Trump is in kind of a weird spot here. He's got to attack into these minions. Like, how does he sequence this? Does he give Sylvanas 1 power here with his Aldar Peacekeeper. And then he's got to attack correctly as well, because you want to make sure that you get in as many attacks as you can before one of your minions gets stolen from Neirea. You have to mitigate this damage that Sylvanas is going to do to your board as much as possible.
Yeah, that's true. But having 2 Murloc Knights, that's just crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, you just hero power and your entire board's full. I mean, you make 2 mana and you get 3 minions. I mean, that's a deal I'll take every day.
Definitely true, but the RNG from Sylvanas will be very important, because there's still a lot of minions on board for Trump, but having an obstacle like that in form of Sylvanas might be affecting the game in a very major way. So let's see what will Sylvanas take, and it will take the free, so not the worst outcome for Trump here. And a better replacement on again.
Well, Trump was kind of rushed. Yeah, Trump was kind of rushed that turn. I mean, he almost didn't get his entire turn in there. He had to really, really move quickly there at the end. I don't blame him. That was a very difficult turn to make in the allotted time there. Now, Neirea back in that situation that he's been in almost, it feels like every turn this game. He's been trying to regain the board, but Trump just keeps adding the pressure. But, he can do his own quartermaster impression this turn with a Mal'Ganis.
Yeah,
gets a free tap here as well. It's pretty nice. Gets a free extra card. It's better than just adding a big game hunter to the board when you've got to believe that Trump has something like Dr. Boom in his deck.
And now, I think you shouldn't exactly kill the Paladin Shadow, because that adds damage to the board, which is able to kill the Mal'Ganis. If you were to just kill another minion, like an example, let's say the Quartermaster, then you leave 6-7 on the board, but your opponent is left with a creature that is not able to attack. Interesting. I'm really interested why he did attack into that Paladin Shredder.
Yeah, this Quartermaster is going to get a little bit of value here. It's going to allow him to keep his Totem Golem here. He is still going to have to trade in a few minions, though, to take care of this Mal'Ganis, but the damage from it is mitigated a little bit from the way he's played this turn, and he does get to follow this up with another 1/1 from his hero power and a Piloted Shredder, so still presenting a lot of damage here to Neirea. And the way Neirea played his last turn, Trump's got to feel good about this. He's got to know that there's not a lot of recovery going on Neirea's side of the board. And as I say that, an antique heal bot comes into his hand.
Definitely. So this will put Neirea in a position when he has 20 HP, but at the same time, there's how much damage? 4, 7, 9, 12, 13 damage, 17 damage coming from Trump's next turn. That's a huge amount of damage.
Now, Trump has to think about this, too. Now, there's always the chance that there's more heal and there's more taunt behind this. So do you push all that damage into Neirea's face, or do you keep making these value trades that you've been doing? You keep to your plan that you've been doing the whole game of, I'm just going to control the board, I'm going to keep controlling the board, and make Neirea have to have it to recover, because Neirea's been top decking the last couple turns in a row. You have to know that Trump has been paying attention that the card from the rightmost part of Neirea's hand has been getting played. So he knows that his hand can't be amazing.
Yeah, actually, that's a very good point, Tannen, because that means those cards to the left side from Neirea's hand are most likely very retroactive. So they're practically minions that don't have a effect on the board, like Big Game Hunter, like let's say maybe what else can be.
You could just have the Jiraxis, which doesn't do a ton here. I mean, it does kill a minion, but you push in too much damage.
I'm not sure if Trump will be putting Neirea on a Jiraxis right now, because first of all, you can't think about Jiraxis if you're being the aggressive player, because you have to push for damage anyway. So even though your opponent has a Jiraxis, you have to be aggressive, right? So it doesn't make a huge difference here. But in general, I'm sure he's aware that there are retroactive cards, so he can be aggressive as he likes.
Yeah, and the 2-mana Big Game Hunter is actually going to help out a lot here. It's going to allow him to Shadow Flame that and still get a huge turn for himself here. Now, Trump, this might be the turn that he finally gets to play this Lay on hand. It's been his hand for a bunch of turns now. He is going to be alleviating some of the pressure here for Neirea. Neirea may have finally turned this corner that he needed to do. It just matters the 3 cards that Trump gets here, plus his draw step next turn. And he doesn't have a lot of 2-drops left in his deck, so he's probably going to be hero powering here this turn. But he did pick up some pretty good ones there. Harrison Jones on a Jiraxis is not a joke. That is something that could actually possibly happen in this game. Plus, he's got a Just a card. That card is pretty good against the deck that isn't running multiple copies of Sweepers.
Oh yeah, there's already a Demon Wrap and a Hellfire being played, so you are aware that the only sweeper left... Wait, Shadowflame was played too.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So all those sweepers are actually out of the game. So if you play Justicar and just Hero Power each single turn, your opponent has no way of dealing with those pesky 1/1s. It's a very similar situation in which you find the Paladin in a Warrior matchup, because Warrior just doesn't have enough answers to deal those small minions.
And it looks like we're going to get to see it here if Trump wants to do it. This is going to be 7 cards off of a Harrison Jones if he wants it. That's got to be pretty hard to pass up, right?
7 cards, you will burn 1 card. Well, he can
I think you're okay with burning a card here.
He can actually first attack with the True Silver Champion, and then play Cockhammer, and then Harrison Jones. I don't think so. I think he would value the Cockhammer later during the game more than anything else. So what about just anti-Healbot and then Harrison Jones? What can he draw for 5 mana that will be so important to play after it? Loatheb?
Yeah, I think possibly he's looking for exactly Loatheb, like you said. That's the one that popped into my head.
Belcher is quite nice too.
Oh, and Tyrion gets burned. Oh no! And I want to talk about something that's been in his hand, and he had an option to play the last turn or two. Is Keeper of Uldaman. This seems like a matchup where it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's true. Like
getting a Twilight Drake from a 4/10 or a 4/9 down to just a 3/3 or stopping giants. This seems like one of the matchups where it's really versatile and really good on either way you use it, as an aggressive card or a removal spell for your opponent's minions.
It's like a semi-old Thinkmaster, because the Thinkmaster had also the option to remove effects from the card. Keeper of Ulduman has the effect on the body, but doesn't necessarily deal with the effects like Tyrion's weapon with taunts and such. But at the same time, it's very powerful tempo tool in the Paladin's arsenal. So I like the card a lot.
Yeah, and so Neirea, again, he's been on the back foot this entire match. He cannot go over 15 health here, so he's going to have to be very careful with his heals and how he plays. So it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to navigate this game, because there's so many cards in Trump's hand here. It's going to be hard for him to even keep in this game, even making 6/6s every turn for just 2 mana.
That's true. So those 6/6s are getting like a lot of value, but at the same time, Neirea is losing the potential of healing himself out of Paladin's reach, and Paladin can just be super aggressive, ignore the board from Neirea, because he has the access to the reset button, which is equality and consecration. Actually, how much damage does he have right now? 4 damage?
I think he has like 11 right now. 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yes, 11.
Yeah.
So I guess this turn might be just what it might be. Just be Keeper of Ulduman, target the 6/6. Can also be Justicar and Hero Power for 2 minions, and then actually you can play Map Juggler +2, but he goes for the Consecration, so he wants to maximize the damage with that.
Yeah, I think he might be following this up with the Knife Juggler play, but he's just making sure nothing takes extra damage from the Knife Juggler. Like, he's going to Consecration into attack with the weapon, into attack with Sledge Belcher, and then try to clean it up here. Or, yeah, this isn't bad either. Justicar Trueheart is going to be a card that's going to outpace a lot of things that Neirea can do. Neirea did pick up a decent card here. He's got a pretty good turn ahead of him here. He can use all of his mana here and all of his cards and get a Doomguard in. So he's actually still in this one, but it's a quality Consecrate. It's going to be backbreaking this turn.
Yeah, but this I feel like I feel like the potential for Trump was just way higher than anything else. If you just go face last turn, because he wasn't worried about being stomped by the Warlock. There's no way that the Warlock had an option for lethaling him, and Warlock still has to deal with the minions on board, and that will be game already this turn. But yeah, but it will work in the end anyway, because he has the equality Consecration and still can develop the board, so it will work really nicely for him. Wait, is he going to use equality?
Well, this adds more power to the board. He gets to make 5 minions here, and you got to believe that the knives are going to hit at least somewhat well. I mean, you're going up to 21 if you kill the Zombie Chow, so there's not a lot of cards. I don't think there's any card in Neirea's deck that can
wow!
Ooh, those are not great knives. Yeah, but it is going to leave just a 5-1 or just one minion in play for Neirea. I mean, this is still going to be good enough, I think, for Trump to get the 2-0 lead here. And oh, we might have.
But that's only 5 health.
Yeah.
That is not much. That is not enough to be healed out of range of any potential lethal attacks if that will happen.
I just saw the top deck Reno and I got so excited.
So now let's see. There's 2 Keepers of Ulduman, so that's plus 4 damage. 5. So that's 10 damage this turn. That's not enough. 10 damage.
So Trump, Neirea's been on his back foot this whole game. He's been keeping himself just barely alive every turn. It seems like Trump is just going to push him over every single turn, but it keeps going back and forth. Is Trump going to be able to finish this game off? Is he going to be able to make that final push here this turn? You got to believe he has the resources to do it, and Neirea can't draw extra cards and just gets to make a 6/6 every turn, and it's not good enough when your opponent is making 4 creatures every turn, 4 minions every turn.
That's true. And right now he's still like the fact that he has 2 recruits from every single hero power every single turn will matter a lot in that final push of both decks, because he's running out of threats in his hand because his deck has no more cards, but at the same time he is aware that his hero power is just way powerful than anything else. Even though his opponent has a 6/6 in his hero power, his combination of cards that he has in his hand, which is Belcher and Healbot, just allow to just outlast his opponent attacks or just nullify them by having taunts that are pesky little just recruits and just will soak that really big hit from the minion and push for small packages of damage that will just add up during the turns, and that will be enough to finish up the game.
Yeah, this is a big top deck for Neirea here too. This Defender of Argus is going to put a big wrench in Trump's plans. He had lethal here if he was able to attack with everything, use his weapon and consecration this turn, but now he's got to get through 2 giant taunted minions.
Well, that's a good draw for Neirea for sure, and he already used the equality and consecration combo. But if Neirea taunts up the 6/6, he's in target of the big game hunter, and that allows you to clear 7 HP with a single card that otherwise would have been useless.
You can see Neirea is really thinking about that, and he actually plays around it. What a great play from Neirea here. And yep, Trump is in fatigue as well, so he needs to win with what he's got in his hand here. And you can see he's got a little bit of stress. Runs his hand over his head a little bit there. He's like, where did this game go wrong? I felt like I had an easy win here over the last couple turns. And
yeah, that was the turn when he didn't go aggressive against the Doomguard and Farseer, because he could have pushed for damage to the Warlock's face with his minions and just not care about anything, because he had the reset button in his possession still. So he lost a ton of damage that would matter here a lot.
And it looks like he's thinking about using his Keeper of Uldum here to make Reno Jackson a 3/3 and kind of be able to push through this way. Trump has got to step carefully. Any misstep here, it's the game. It's over, because he's not going to draw any more cards, and he's taking damage every time that he draws a card here in his turn. So there's a chance he could lose this game.
Yeah, it's very interesting that it came to a point when Trump is kind of struggling and he's still trading. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I think he's just playing it a little safe here. He's going to rely on his Taunter here to save him against the 1 giant minion that Neirea has left. I don't mind this play from him at all. Just leaving it up just this way. Neirea doesn't have, he's already seen Defender of Argus, and I think we've seen the Sunfury Protector as well, so he knows that he's in a pretty good spot versus Taunters here, and that it was just a matter of time. So Trump does pull out that game to go up 2-0 here over Neirea. I gotta agree with you though. I would have liked to see him be a little more aggressive in a few of those turns earlier in the game, but I think it had to do with the fact that he just felt so safe. Just felt like this game is all but over, and I can kind of just take it easy. I drew 7 extra cards in one turn.
I think that the fact that he burned the Tyrion might affect his mindset, that he was like, okay, I just lost my biggest asset when it comes to the defensive plays, so maybe I should be more careful. But at the same time, I think when you lose that kind of card, you should be acting exactly opposite. because you know that you have to be even more aggressive to secure the win, because cards like Belcher, cards like Tyrion are acting as a seal of your seal of safety for your minions if you have already board control, so you can be more aggressive with them.
No, that's a great point, actually. I love the fact that you said, you feel like maybe you should be defensive there, but you should actually just be the opposite. It's a good reason to turn the heat up and try to get the game over with, because you don't have this ace in the hole anymore behind you to in the game. And that means that since Trump has won with his Paladin and his Druid deck, that he's down to his Warlock deck, right? He has one with Druid and Paladin. It was a Druid mirror in the game one. So it's going to be interesting to see what Warlock deck Trump has, because we have 5 Warlock decks here today in this group. If you're a fan of Warlock, you're going to see a lot of it. I got to believe he's got Dark Peddler in his deck. I mean, we've seen that in every one so far, but are we going to see our first Zoo deck?
Trump and Zoo deck. I'm not sure.
I'm hoping. Yeah. I love Zoo. It's my favorite deck ever. So,
but I'm thinking like I would probably pinpoint Trump on a type of handlock Rainier Jackson deck, but I'm wrong. Am I?
It's possible. This is still some forms of handlock. I have seen some demon locks that use Imp Gang Boss, they use Void Walker to get on the board a little earlier. So I shy towards Zoo here. I lean towards that, but you never know. I mean, like, it just seems like these Warlock decks, especially the ones that are trying to be the more controlling, just shift cards in and out so much that it's hard to get their exact list right every time.
Yeah, I mean, that's PO, that's 2 in Gang Boss.
Yeah.
There's so many things that can be shared in different archetypes. I'm still not sure what type of deck it is, but it will be just pure Zoo. For now, we just staple cards, but 2 Imp Bosses, we'll probably say it's not Neirea Jackson, because that's the card that is not so impactful in the game that you need 2 copies of it. I have seen Neirea Jackson's decks with just 2 Molten Giants as a single duplicate. And yeah, this looks like just like a standard Zoo version, which should have a really good chances against Druid.
Yeah, I mean, the Zoo matchup against Druid has always been pretty good. Darnassus does help it out a tiny bit, and it was a good top deck by Neirea here on turn 2. His hand was going to be pretty clunky and fall super far behind if he didn't have it. But you're seeing the real power of this card. It's allowing him, to play stuff higher on his curve sooner, plus it's challenging some of these small sticky minions that Trump has to the board, because Zoo is all about going wide. It's about getting as many minions as you can in play, and that traditionally has been a bad matchup for Druid.
Yeah, and like I also said multiple times today already, Druid has problem with to deal with multiple minions that have more than 2 HP, because basically he has to use his minion attacks instead of using cards like Swipe or Wrath to deal with multiple minions. So this will be an awkward game for Neirea, unless he can curve out with an example Innervate next turn to have to have Dr. Boom already on board.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that can actually get him back into this game and put him in a winning position. Otherwise, he's going to be fighting from behind every turn for the rest of the game. That's not where you want to be as a Druid. As you said, it's a lot harder for you to deal with. And, we see some pretty good ones here from Trump. He's got an Abusive Sergeant if he wants. He can even pick up a Reliquary Seeker, making it, it seems like we're seeing all of the League of Explorer cards today. It seems like we're seeing almost the full spectrum of all of the playable ones here today. And that card is actually starting to show up a little bit. There's some Zoo decks that have been playing that card.
Yeah, especially with combination with Sea Giants, Implosions, Hunted Creepers, and Oozes even, like the Echoing Oozes, because the Reliquary Seeker is basically a huge minion for 1 mana, which is definitely great against decks like Druid. But the problem is, you need to get almost a full board before you play that card. So,
Oh, look
at that.
You were a little prophetic here. You called it. Did you just know that was coming?
Yeah, of course I know. I knew this is how I play the game. It's really easy when you know the exact card that is coming to you next turn, so you can plan for a lethal before you even know that it will happen. So yeah. Cool.
Must be nice, Lothar. Must be nice to know all the cards that are coming here. But, Trump, he's still got a little bit of a board here. He's still going to be able to do some damage. He's got a power overwhelming. He's got a Sea Giant, like you said. So there's some big plays he can make here to stay in this game. That Dr. Boom is not game over.
Yeah, it's definitely not. And cards like Keepers is that are very important of regaining the control of the board for Neirea. But I think the biggest thing, the biggest swing was the fact that he had the Innervate for Dr. Boom. Like, this is the biggest swing here. Even though it might allow Trump to play his Sea Giant this turn, there's the Big Game Hunter to answer that. Imagine if the Big Game Hunter wasn't in the hand. That would have been a really bad situation for Neirea.
Yeah, I think Innervate, as you said, it's just going to be the most important thing that happened in this game. Like the fact that he gets a huge threat into play, and then is going to be able to follow this up next turn with a lot of great plays as well. I mean, this is the only reason he's in this game. I mean, he was going to be very far out of it if it wasn't for that. And that Boombot did not hit the way that Neirea wanted it to. No value for him there off of that one.
Yeah,
get a little extra imp here, throw another knife, but Neirea's got some pretty decent plays in front of him here. You got to believe he's going to big game hunt the Sea Giant. You can't let that sit around, but what else can he do this turn, besides pick off an imp?
That's the problem. I might be thinking that he might just play Force of Nature, clean up the 3 little pesky small minions, and just queue about better with Paltis Rudder and Big Game Hunter next turn, because that makes his position a little bit better in the upcoming turn, because otherwise he is just spending 2 mana on his hero power to clean up 1 imp. He needs to sacrifice the Shade into the Knife Juggler. He's being left with a 4-2 on board, and his opponent is left with a 1-1. That's a very interesting turn, and I think the decision is very hard to take. He even goes for a third option, which is Keeper and hero power 1 of the imps. Okay.
Yeah, how do you feel about this play? You think he's going to pick off both imps here as well?
Yes, this way he will also unshade, because we know that Zoo is just using almost every single minion on board, even a 1-1, in a perfect way with Abusive Surgeons, with Defender of Arguses, with cards like Direwolf, who add attack to those pesky little minions. So every single 1-1 is a potential threat, especially with POs. So I'm not blaming him to unshade this turn and just kill the 1-1, even though you have a huge minion. But I liked what he did, that he didn't play the Big Game Hunter just like instantly, because that would mean that he lost a lot of value, a lot of tempo in this matter. So having this option here to swipe and then play Big Game Hunter to kill the board entirely makes up for the HP loss that he had last turn. But the 4 damage bomb to the Keeper is something that Trump really badly needed.
Yeah, that was one of the best outcomes that Trump could have had that turn, because he had to feel that he was super far ahead. He had the Sea Giant that didn't get Big Game Huntered. You feel like, oh, maybe the coast is clear for my 8/8 here, and then I'm going to play a Dr. Boom as well. So he didn't even have 1 Big Game Hunter. How's he going to deal with 2 giant minions? And then Neirea deals with his entire board that turn. But Trump does have a pretty decent reload here. He's going to get to start pushing even more damage here. This is going to be 6 damage into Neirea here, putting him at 8, and he doesn't have a great defensive measure here besides using his Force of Nature to take down this Doomguard here. So Neirea might be getting back into this game just a little bit this turn.
That's true, but
now he's going to have to fade a lot of top decks from Trump, though. He's going to get to use his hero power every turn from now on.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, the Doomguard will be kind of a headache for Neirea. Imagine if there will be a silence here from Trump being top decked. Oh, almost.
Yeah, I thought that was an owl for just a second. I was looking for a 2-mana card here, but
that's
not
actually
a bad turn here.
Perfect top deck, just because it sweeps the Druid of the Claw with a single attack, and it's out of range out of the attack from the Shade, but it's 10-9, and it's Force of Nature Savage Roar, which I'm sure will be used right now, because the single Treant will be able to wipe out the Doomguard, and that's very important for Neirea right now.
And Neirea had given him the good game. He thought the game was actually over, but it looks like Neirea's still going to be at it just a little bit. He's still got to fade a few cards here for a turn or two. he's very low in resources, but that's one of the cards he needed Trump to draw there. Abusive Sergeant, not an Abusive Sergeant into Power Overwhelming. That was two of the worst cards he could possibly draw here this turn. Neirea might have been a little preemptive with the good game there.
Yeah, and now Trump has to play the Abusive Sergeant, I think, because that pushes his opponent to use his Shade to clear the Abusive Sergeant. Or...
Well, I mean, he could just use his hero power too, and like I don't know, it's just such a rough spot, and it would have like cost Neirea if he had used his hero power this turn to clear a 2/1. He would not have had enough mana to play both his spells here this turn.
Well,
Trump's just in a bad spot now.
He would have to use the attack of the Shade to develop the two creatures, and I think that was the correct play. But at the same time, keeping on the Abusive Sergeant, I think it was like not important at all, because even if you count on drawing Doomguard. Okay, that's the difference, because if you can draw Doomguard next turn and then you can tap, so you can play Doomguard and your Doomguard will not discard the PO, then you can PO on Doomguard and attack for 9. And I think this might have been the most important thing.
Yeah, I think that's actually what Trump was trying to do there. He was instead of playing to not die, he was playing to win, which I think is the correct play in that mode. And you found the line exactly. He was trying to just draw his last Doomguard, get lucky on the discard, and then have a win here against Neirea. So, you mentioned sweeping Neirea out of here. Trump almost did it there. I almost had him marked down as the winner, but Neirea comes back with some pretty good play here, some nice defensive plays late in the game, and he will not be our second person swept out of a match here today. In fact, he swept 6-0 in the first match, and he avoids getting one here himself.
Yeah, and the biggest turn in this match was the turn 5 when he innovated the Octobomb, and I feel that without that play, he was out of the game easily, because he had a really big problem to take back the advantage that Trump built over the board in the past turns.
Oh, I 100% agree with you. Now, this is going to be an interesting matchup. We have both Warlock decks here. Trump is on Zoo. Neirea is on like Reno Jackson, Control Warlock with not a lot of 2-ofs, but he has a Demon Wrath in his hand, and this might not kill a minion against Trump. There's a good chance that Trump has some boards where this Demon Wrath is not going to be as good as it should be.
Yep. That's actually hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, Trump's going to have a lot of demons in his deck and a lot of demons in play. It does kill this Dark Peddler, but it kills Neirea's as well. So Trump's gonna, he's got a good aggressive start here, and he's got some, with me in the Discover mechanic, I kind of want it to be you can't get cards that are already in your deck. Like if you have a 2-of in your deck, you should not be able to discover a third copy.
You think so? I mean, that will make Dark Peddler way less powerful.
Yeah, of course.
Cards like PO are the most, one of the biggest MVPs of the Discovery mechanic in Dark Peddler, and cards like Voidwalker can help a lot. Cards like Flame Imps can help a lot, so it would make it really weaker.
No, I agree with you. It'd make it weaker. I'm not actually mad about it. I was just, saying my piece on the card because I think the card's great. It seems to be one of the real breakout stars from League of Sports. And we see Reno Jackson in Neirea's hand. That card has been everywhere and been very good, but it's going to need to pull a lot of weight this game, and it looks like it's might. And Neirea finally found a good Demon Wrath as well. We talked about there might not be a great one in this game, but he did get a 2-for-1 here.
Yeah, he got a 2-for-1, which is a great deal, and but Trump drops the Void Caller with a potential Doomguard with it if he gets rid of the Voidwalker next turn. So this might be also huge. This looks like a turn when you can actually get the Doomguard out. You can play Voidwalker into Abusive Sergeant, your opponent's Void Caller, so you can attack into it, and will have 5 attacks to kill it and you get to Doomguard. I don't think that's worth it. So, yeah, he just goes for a tap and builds up the card advantage, which is very important because your opponent can switch the board or just heal up to maximum with his Reno Jackson. So I'm not blaming him for gathering the cards to just build up the damage and make the final push of the Doomguard. So I assume that Doomguard will not be played until the end of the game.
Yeah, I don't think Trump can give up cards here either. I think his resources are just they're worth too much against this Reno deck. He knows that he's going to have to deal possibly way more than 30 damage to win this game. There's a lot of heal in Neirea's deck. He's got a lot of taunt. So I think you're right. You're going to see him play this game a little bit slow. And he's not going to just push all in super early because of the giant plays that Neirea's deck can do.
It's very similar to approach that you play when you play against a control warrior, when you're not pushing for every single minion that you have available in your hand, and you just you find a smart way of tapping every single turn and building the board at the same time. So you put some pressure on the board, but you're not obviously overextending.
Yeah, and Trump got a pretty good knife juggle there at the end. The ones in the middle, he was trying to get some damage on these minions so he could get some great trades here, but the last one does, fire true for him here on the turn. Now, he has a gigantic board set up here. This is what Zoo is trying to do in all of its matchups, trying to just get these big, overwhelming board states that are hard to deal with. And Neirea, we know, he only has one copy of Shadow Flame and one copy of Hellfire, so this is going to be pretty hard for him to deal with.
And he's choosing to attack with his minions, and I think that's the correct decision because you're aware your opponent is only playing one Molten Giant. So attacking phase here is definitely correct. It's almost always correct in against a handlock, because if they have Molten Giants and Taunt, you lose anyway. You can play around it. And the Zoo is not explosive enough to just withstand the amount of pressure the opponent can just drop from the Molten Giants, and you can't kill your opponent after that turn. So you need to rely on a swift attack, and I think this is the same case in this matchup. You can't play around Reno Jackson, just go face, you just deal as much damage as possible, and you're not looking back.
Yeah, well, looks like Neirea is going to try to get rich this turn. This is a 19-point Reno Jackson, but Trump, this turn can be very powerful from him. He's got a lot of really good options going forward. He can clear most of Neirea's board, if not all of it, depending on where these knives go, because he's going to be able to play everything from his hand if he wants here. He's going to be able to play both his minions and then get his Doom Guard in off of his Void Caller, depending on how he wants to trade, and draw an extra card here. So that was a huge heal by Neirea last turn, but Trump is still pushing a lot of aggression, putting a ton of pressure on Neirea.
And he's not able to kill the 1/1 for now, but he's able to clear Reno Jackson with that single knife. So even though he might actually snipe it right now, and it snipes it. Wow. What a turn! Perfect
Full
clear from Trump, and an aggressive start with a Doomguard and Knife Juggler into the fresh 30 HP Warlock. So he's already at 21 after the one juggle from the Knife Juggler.
And Neirea is going to have to just Dr. Boom, hope he's not dead here, and then hope the Defender of Argus can just, carry enough weight next turn for him.
Oh
and
my god.
One Dr. Boom deserves another one.
Yeah, but let's think. Like, you can go aggressively with 3 minions and one trade into Dr. Boom. No, I don't think so. Well, maybe, because you will lose one bomb. What about if you just go aggressively with everything and just play Dr. Boom for 1 bomb? Because what I was saying, like, I almost always favor the aggressive play. No trades, just deal damage, and don't care about anything. So I wouldn't blame him for doing that. But now he's in a difficult position when he needs to weigh the chances of bombs killing the Knife Juggler, because he didn't attack with it first. And it goes 4 damage to the face, which is actually a huge deal.
Yeah, he's going to be able to trade this. I actually thought there was a chance he was going to trade his Knife Juggler in before playing Dr. Boomer, just to kind of play around that situation that you mentioned, where he could, it's such a hard turn to sequence, and then one bomb goes for 1. It's such a hard turn to sequence because there's so many permutations of the bombs killing some of your minions before they attack. How do you attack correctly? I mean, it's such a hard spot. Neirea's going to have to Mortal Coil to dig for a card here just to see if he can stay in this game, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do it.
Well, there's the big amount to rescue the situation. Right. But it's 9 damage coming from the board.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of cards like Power Overwhelming, or, if Mal'Ganis comes in next turn, that's going to be a huge one. Now, it depends on where these bombs go. This is super important for Trump. They might be able to push a ton of damage into some extra minions. But, I mean, I guess trading a bomb for the big game hunter there, not the worst thing. Trump would have maybe, had higher aspirations in mind from there. But, man, his board is good from here. He's got a ton of toughness, a lot of sticky minions. If there's a sweeper, he's left with a 4/4 here. From his egg, so I still love Trump's position.
Yeah, and it's not looking bad for him. I mean, the problem is that Neirea will now drop a huge taunt. And even though he has 2 demons on board, the Doomguard is not going through the Molten Giant.
Yeah, and the biggest problem is the Void Caller is now taunted up, and there's a Mal'Ganis in Nyrea's hand, which Trump doesn't know about. And so, depending on how he attacks this turn, he's going to have to get through 3 separate minions, because once he gets through the 2 taunters, Mal'Ganis is going to make Neirea immune.
Yep.
What a back and forth game. This game's been great.
Well, I don't see a way out for Trump now, especially with the Mal'Ganis in hand.
I'm trying to think. Go ahead.
I'm just thinking, is there any way that you can clear the Mountain Giant, but it would require a very lucky bomb right now to clear the Mountain Giant and not... Oh my god, I was close. If only there would be a Dark Bomb or Soulfire for Trump from a Dark Peddler. What if he taps for the second Dark Peddler and goes for it?
Yeah, I mean, I do like the sequencing that he made this turn of attack with bomb first, see where it goes, and let's make our decisions from there. And yeah, he's going to actually just trade in here, make a gigantic board here. And I like him not unveiling the Void Caller as well. Don't let Neirea attack with whatever comes out of it, because if it is Mal'Ganis, he's just dead. He's going to take too much damage on the way back. So I like the way that Trump played that turn, and then hopefully Defender of Argus can push him over the edge here next turn, or whatever he top decks, because he's going to get another 2 cards next turn. Maybe he can find, Power Overwhelming, Abusive Sergeant, or something to push through those last few points of damage.
Yeah, that's true. But now Neirea top decks a Shadow Flame and is able to clear the board almost entirely, because he can attack into the egg, proc the spider from it, then he can attack with the Twilight Drake into Mal'Ganis, Shadow Flame. I was thinking about Shadow Flame Void Caller actually, but now when I think about it, you can just Shadow Flame Sylvanas and double Mal'Ganis to your board, which is of course way better.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen the double Mal'Ganis before. This is a pretty cool one. Trump gives a little bit of a laugh, and he would have top decked a Doomguard this turn. Defender of Argus plus Doomguard, you have to believe that would have been enough to get him through if Neirea didn't have this, huge turn himself for this game. Wow, Trump has got to be thinking about, how did this one slip away again? This Reno gained 19 life this game. I've done 50 damage to my opponent and I can't win.
Yeah, but at the same time, he cleared up the board when he sacrificed a lot of damage. And I think this is something that just holding Trump back of winning those games. He's just sacrificing a lot of damage. I think in an unnecessary way, because when Neirea played the Reno Jackson, I think he should have just avoid any kind of minion trades and just deal the damage that he lost when Reno Jackson was played, and put Neirea in a position when he has to answer the minions and not the other way around.
Exactly, and this is going to be our first Game 5 today, so this is match point for both guys. Whoever wins this one puts themselves into a good position. Neirea would be 2-0 in the group. We'd love his chances to get out of his group. Starting out 2-0, Trump doesn't want to start in an 0-1 hole here, and it looks like it's going to be Zoo versus Neirea's Control Warrior, and Neirea's hand is not good.
Yeah, definitely not good. I mean, it's horrible. If it wouldn't be the fact that he has the Depth Spider on Tinfall, it would have been even more ugly, because the Depth Spider is the MVP of those matchups. He can kill the Spider, the Hunted Creeper, and kill the minions from it with the Death Rattle trigger, because his X will be played later. But the amount of damage that we're piling on is something that you don't want to see at any point of the game. So right now he will be in a really difficult position.
Yeah, and good draw for him there on turn 3. Acolyte of Pain, getting him an extra card, getting him something to do on the board instead of just another armor pass turn. And you see this hand in some matchups, it might be okay because he has the Death Bite on 4. He'd have Brawl on 5, but Brawl can be kind of rough against Zoo sometimes. They're so sticky, right? Sometimes they can set up boards that Brawls aren't amazing against.
Yeah, and look at the Defender of Argus now. It was perfectly played by Trump because he's playing around the Death Rattle triggers from the Death Spider and the Hunted Creepers. And the attack into the Flame doesn't kill anything else, so he's pushed to use the Brawl very early on turn 5. So now Trump has a green light to overextend. The problem is, the Brawl was very lucky for Neirea, and he's now able to clear the board, and I think you should go for it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's thinking, should I wait with this, Death Spite? Like, I'm just trying to think, he's got a Sludge Belcher, he's got a Shield Maiden, he's got some ways to recover, he's got some ways to gain some life, but maybe he's just going to play it safe here. He's at least taking his time. I like this about Neirea, he plays very quickly when he needs to, but he also takes his time and, like, really takes in all the chances. Like, we saw that turn where he took a bunch of time playing around Big Game Hunter earlier with the Defender of Argus, and I think, a lot of people would have just quickly played their Defender of Argus between both minions and possibly lost that game that he won.
Yeah, that's true. So, very well played by Neirea here, and Trump is having kind of an awkward hand. He will have to play Implosion next turn and hopefully hit for 4. Oh wow, that's a perfect top deck in this situation. That's a really perfect top deck because first of all it has a synergy with the Implosion and curves it perfectly, but also his opponent just played just played the Death Spite and triggered the Whirlwind effect, but he's also out of Brawl, so this makes a huge difference. And the PO spawning a minion additional 4 damage next turn. That's also might be that might be the nail to the coffin for Neirea.
Yeah, no, Bash not a bad one. He could, Sludge Belcher plus Bash plus Shield Slam this turn if he wants to and start cleaning up this board. That was a pretty big draw from Neirea. Exactly. I mean, this was a couple of big turns back to back. Trump, he did roll the low 2, but thankfully for him, both the knives went to face because he could have missed out on a damage or 2 there because he was gonna have to power overwhelming that turn no matter what. And this is also really good for Neirea too because this is going to make Sea Giant a little more expensive the way he played that turn.
That's true, but he's missing the Execute, he's missing the Big Game Hunters, and Trump has to go for it because there's no coming back from this strategy. Now he has to commit to the board and just attack face with every single minion possible. There's no way he will trade. Oh wow, another Shield Slam. So Bash deals 3 damage, you can armor up, and you can just Shield Slam the Giant. Even though you don't have a perfect answer to it, you can still clear it up. But this doesn't allow you to develop the Belcher. So what about 2 Belchers instead? You drop 2 Belchers, you kill the Voidwalker with your Shields Maiden, and that's it.
Yeah, it looks like what he's gonna. Yeah, he's gonna actually, do a little bit of board control here and just hope this Belcher, he's gonna be able to sit on it. And, next turn, he might be able to use Justicar plus Shield Slam to get a ton of extra damage, and that way with Tank Up added to Shield Slam. So Neirea with the long game in mind here.
With the long game, but the Defender of Argus will help a lot here too. And I think this is the turn when you use Defender of Argus with your egg, because you know that your opponent will have to go through that. So I think he might actually go for just 1 taunt here.
Well, I mean, this does help protect your Sea Giant on board. Like, it doesn't just leave your Sea Giant hanging to the Shield Maiden here. So I do like doing
that's a fair
this
point.
way. Yeah,
that's a fair point because a single weapon would mean Giant is dead, and you know that he didn't have the Execute. Okay, very good point.
Yeah. Now, is Neirea going to be able to find a way out of this board state? I mean, he's been fighting from behind, it feels like the last 3 games in a row, and has been winning them. I mean, he was trying to get a reverse sweep going here, but I don't know if it's going to be in the cards for him here. This is going to be a hard turn for him to get out of. Trump is applying so much pressure.
I mean, this is usually how the matchup goes. Warrior doesn't find Brawl, Warrior uses the Brawl too early, and he doesn't have a comeback mechanism later on, and is just being overwhelmed by small minions. I mean, small. There's a 8/5 on the board, so it's particularly small.
Yeah, not finding a Baron Ged, not having an early Fiery Wind Axe, as it's aptly called, causing some problems here for Neirea for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Like, the Belcher soaks the damage, but it doesn't necessarily help him out so much if there will be an example.
Mal'Ganis gets to add a lot of power to this board as well, if that's something Trump wants to do. I mean, Neirea's already shown a really hard time dealing with Sea Giant. If you can't deal with Sea Giant and you get to have a Mal'Ganis in play for multiple turns, I mean, this game is not even close to being winnable for Neirea.
Yeah, this is the turn when Mal'Ganis has to be played. Mal'Ganis drops down, boosts the Imp Gank Boss to a 4/5, which is kind of awkward, and I think you might still use the Giant to clear up the Belcher.
Yeah, it costs you a lot of damage to Neirea's face, but it gives you a better board for the next turn. So Trump's having to weigh his options there for sure. Do I want to push this 8 damage? And like that's what's taking him, that's what's pausing him here is do I want to push this 8 damage as Sea Giant, or do I want to make value trades, or do I just want to run it over? There's so many different attacks he can make here. You got to believe this Defender of Argus is probably going to, just take care of the Shield Maiden as well.
Huh.
Yeah, Trump's going to navigate this board great here and just hope to God there's no way to kill this Mal'Ganis because, the Sea Giant's been living for quite a while.
Yeah, the Sea Giant is it's just dealing with those Belchers every single turn. But now there's a way of clearing the Mal'Ganis, and tanking up till 14, right? No, 13.
Yeah. Well,
But that's not enough, right? It's 12.
Yeah, since
13,
the
14, 16 damage coming in.
Yeah, the Emperor trigger actually lets him do a pretty cool play this turn where he gets to, use his hero power twice and use a shield summon he never really wouldn't, but it's not going to be enough. Neirea is going to concede.
Wow.
He is not going to move to 2-0. He would have been our first 2-0 in the bracket, but instead Trump is going to be 1-0. I got to feel the advantage in this whole matchup is what you talked about coming into it. Trump getting to go last. He was the 5th player to play out of this group. He got to see all of Neirea's decks, and I feel that small edge pushed him over in this match.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the reasons why he did use the Warlock as the third deck. So those small chances might have affect this match, and I'm curious how it go with the next matches because now everyone is out in the spotlight, right? All the decks from every single player basically. Wait, not every single one because I think Sixo showed on 2.
Yeah,
So,
I think we've missed 1 or 2 decks, yeah.
Yeah, but almost every single player was being broadcasted for now, and the next match will be between who?
It's going to be Sixo and Jab. It's going to be a redemption match. Both of these guys lost their first matches. Sixo lost in what felt like 10 minutes to Neirea, and Jab lost pretty quickly as well to Firebat, but he at least got a win in his match. So both of these guys, they're going to be looking to get back to even at 1-1, and neither one of them wants to start off this group 0-2. That is not how you want to get your tournament started.
Yeah, that's definitely true, but we'll see how it goes. Like one of the players that we're playing in the next match will go 0-2, and it will feel bad for him. But at the same time, someone has to be that guy, right? So we'll see how the group develops. On 2 players who advance to the next stage. So stay tuned, and we'll be going to a short break before the next match.
We've traversed the tombs of Naxxramas. We've climbed every cliff on Black Rock. Now the world cries out for heroes. As a new evil rises, there will be danger. There will be doom.